morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline the 3rd of August 2024. This week's headlines. The 3 men accused of plotting 9/11 reach a plea deal. American flags were burned in the US Capitol. Anjem Choudary was jailed for life. Iran vows to avenge the killing of the Hamas political leader Haniyeh. 12 people, mostly children, were killed in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Police officers were injured and a building set on fire in northeastern unrest. Mennonites march 135 miles to the White House for a Gaza ceasefire. Vatican officials react to controversial Olympic ceremony. Huw Edwards was stripped of his charity role as he's charged with making indecent images of children. Here is the news in detail. 3 of the men accused of plotting the 11th of September 2001 attacks on the US have entered into a pre-trial agreement, the Department of Defense says. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Walid Mohammed Salih Mubarak bin Attash, and Mustafa Ahmed Adam al-Hawsawi have been held at the US naval base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, for years without going on trial. In exchange for the prosecution agreeing not to seek the death penalty, the trio have agreed to plead guilty to all of the charged offences, including the murder of the 2,976 people listed in the charge sheet. The attacks in New York, Virginia, and Pennsylvania sparked the War on Terror and the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. Bret Eagleson, the president of 9/11 Justice, an organization that represents survivors and relatives of victims, said in a statement that the families are deeply troubled by these plea deals. He said the process lacked transparency and urged the authorities to pursue more information on the role of Saudi Arabia in the attacks. Breaking news. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has revoked the pre-trial agreement reached with the men accused of plotting the 11th of September attacks. In a memo on Friday, Mr. Austin also said he was revoking the authority of the officer overseeing the military court who signed the agreement on Wednesday. The original deal, which would have reportedly have spared the alleged attackers the death penalty, was criticized by some of the victims' families. American flags were burnt in the US Capitol. Muslims' intentions are clear. See this video.
Here, and it will be. The flag of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah will be, inshallah, on the White House. The American people are waking up now.
Allah does say that the whole world eventually will be under his ruling. The world will come down to where everybody obeys the laws of God. Simple as that.
We will force Islamic Sharia, inshallah. Sharia here, and it will be. The flag of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah will be, inshallah, on the White House. The American people are waking up now.
Allah does say that the whole world eventually will be under his ruling. The world will come down to where everybody obeys the laws of God. Simple as that.
Anjem Choudary, the leader of the banned group Al-Muhajirun, has been jailed for life and may never leave prison alive. The extremist preacher was found guilty of directing the group, which is banned under UK terror laws, and encouraging support for it through online meetings. The sentence means he cannot seek to leave jail on license until he is more than 85 years old. Choudary appeared shocked and rocked on his feet in the dock as he was given a minimum term of 28 years at Woolwich Crown Court. He was convicted last week of directing a terror organisation under a complex operation involving detectives and investigators in the US, Canada and the UK. Mr. Justice Wall said Choudhary's group was a radical organisation that intended to spread Sharia law by violent means to as much of the world as possible. Choudary, one of the most notorious radicalisers in the UK, was caught after an international undercover investigation proved that the long-banned Al-Muhajirun network that he headed was still operating in 2021 and trying to recruit new followers under a false name in North America. Al-Muhajirun, which emerged in the late 1990s, has been linked to dozens of acts of terrorism, with followers committing acts of violence both at home and abroad. Choudary has been at the heart of the organisation since its earliest days and became its leader in 2014 after its founder was jailed in Lebanon. The 57-year-old's imprisonment relates to his attempts to redevelop the network in 2021 after his release from a 5.5-year prison sentence for inviting his followers to support the Islamic State fighters in Syria. Iran vows to avenge the killing of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh, who died in an overnight airstrike in Tehran, according to Iranian media. Hamas and Iran blame Israel for the strike. Israel hasn't commented, but has previously vowed to eliminate the group's leaders. Haniyeh, 62, was the most senior leader to be killed since the 7th of October attacks. The killing, hours after an Israeli strike on the Lebanese capital Beirut, heightens fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East. Hezbollah confirms its commander, Fuad Shukr, was killed in that strike, which Israel described as being targeted. In a televised statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his country is prepared for any scenario and stands determined against any threat. The BBC's Paul Adams has visited the site where 12 people, mostly children, were killed in Israeli-occupied Golan Heights on Saturday. Israel has blamed Hezbollah for the strike, which hit a football pitch in Majdal Shams, but the Lebanese militant group strongly denies any involvement. See this video.
So this is where the explosion happened at about 6:30 last night here in Majdal Shams. You can see the crater where the rocket landed. It blew this fence right out, and you can see children's bicycles and scooters all among the wreckage here. And also, if you look at the fence, you can see shrapnel holes. And over in the corner, there are little pools of blood that they've tried to clear up, and there's blood also spattered on the walls. There is a bomb shelter right here next to the football pitch, and we're told that there was a siren moments before the explosion, but that no one had enough time to react. This is a part of the world where a conflict with Lebanon, with the Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon, has been raging ever since the war in Gaza began in October. Lebanon is just over the mountain there. This is Mount Hermon. Lebanon is really close. The Israelis say that the rocket that was fired came from a position not very far in that direction. Syria is not much further in that direction. It's a very sensitive area. And at various times over the past 9-10 months, people have wondered, feared, that this simmering conflict might explode into an all-out war. Israel has threatened a severe response in the wake of what happened here to the children here. The question is, when and what form will that take?
Mennonites marched over 135 miles from Harrisonburg, Virginia, to the White House, nursing blisters and removing ticks as they crossed the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Shenandoah Valley in 11 days. Outside the White House on Sunday, the core group of about 15 who had walked every day from the main Mennonite hub in the southeast had grown 10 times larger, all gathered in prayer for a ceasefire. The Mennonite tradition developed as a peace church, believing that the gospel teaches non-violence. Organizers said the group included Mennonites from at least 40 different churches in the US and Canada, as well as interfaith supporters from Catholic, Lutheran, Jewish, Evangelical Christian, and Southern Baptist traditions. They want a ceasefire in Gaza. A crowd of about 200 anti-racist protesters gathered outside the Abdullah Quilliam Mosque in Liverpool on Friday night after rumours of a far-right protest there. The group chanted, "Say it loud, say it clear, refugees are welcome here." Director of Public Prosecutions, Stephen Parkinson, said extra prosecutors had been called into work this weekend to deal with the disorder. "We have employed dozens of extra prosecutors who are working round the clock this weekend, supporting the police and ready to make immediate charging decisions so that justice is swiftly delivered," he said. Towns and cities, including London, Hartlepool, Manchester and Aldershot, have seen protests descend into violence following the Southport knife attack. See this video.
My country! Let's have it!
Large numbers of police have been deployed across the city to deal with a wave of criminality. A police car in a side street vandalised. Around the next corner, a taxi overturned and set alight. About 400 or 500 protesters here in the centre of Sunderland. We've got a police helicopter overhead. You can probably see the riot squads just getting out of their van. We've had police on horseback charging through the crowd to disperse them. But it's a strange scene, to be honest, because you've got the sort of hard right masked yobs hurling bricks at the police lines, and then you've got families all wearing England tops cheering them along. I've seen babies in pushchairs, very small children on the march, and scores of teenagers, young boys and girls, all dressed up to their nines, out on a Friday night, just looking for a bit of excitement. There were some well-known figures from far-right groups in attendance as older men tried to coordinate youngsters in balaclavas, gathering missiles to throw at police officers. "Head for the mosque," shouted one. Hundreds of young Muslim men were guarding the town's central mosque as fears grew that the town might descend into major public disorder.
Catholic leaders, along with a host of other Christian groups, voiced outrage following the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Paris over a scene starring drag performers and French entertainers that many interpreted as a parody of Jesus' Last Supper. Organisers have since apologised for the ceremony, while the creative director of the controversial scene, Thomas Joly, said the Last Supper was not among his inspirations and that it was meant to represent the Greek gods during a banquet. The tableau featured artists in drag, representing diverse cultural backgrounds, posed behind a long dining table, while a woman wearing an ornate silver halo stood in the middle. Singer and actor Philippe Catherine emerged painted blue on a silver platter and adorned with grapes. Over the weekend, before Joly's clarification, social media was rife with arguments over whether the scene was meant to invoke paintings of the Greek gods gathered at Mount Olympus, such as the 1636 painting The Feast of the Gods by Dutch artist Jan van Billier, or the painting Feast of the Gods by Johann Rottenhammer and Jan Bruegel, circa 1600, or if its true similarity was to Leonardo da Vinci's famous artistic depiction of Jesus' Last Supper. Many Christians worldwide, including Vatican officials, saw the latter and took offence. Maltese Archbishop Charles Scicluna, one of the Vatican's top advisors in investigating sexual abuse cases, wrote on X that he had contacted the Maltese embassies to France to express the distress and the disappointment of many Christians at the gratuitous insult to the Eucharist during the opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics. Archbishop Vincenzo Paglia, who heads the Vatican think tank on human life and society, also commented on the derision and ridicule of the Last Supper during the Olympic ceremony. It reveals a profound question. Everyone, truly everyone, wants to sit at that table where Jesus gave his life for all and taught love. One-time BBC News anchor Huw Edwards has been stripped of his role at the National Churches Trust following his conviction on receiving pornographic pictures featuring children on his phone. The charity, which supports the UK churches to maintain their historic sites and buildings, as well as ensuring churches remain accessible to all, has cut ties with the former BBC News presenter. In a statement, the charity confirmed that Mr. Edwards was no longer a vice president. It read, "In the light of the news yesterday, the National Churches Trust has confirmed that Huw Edwards is no longer a vice president for the charity. We are shocked and saddened by the recent developments." There will be no Free Thought Hour chat show and no views on the news until next week due to our summer vacation. This has been Global Atheist News. Please like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.